Gambit Chads, I present to you what might just be the most underrated, underappreciated Gambit for you to play in all of chess. The Von Popiel Gambit, d4, d5, e4 sacrificing this pawn, takes knight c3 attacking it, knight f6 to defend, bishop to g5 to put a little pressure, and after bishop to f5 to add some extra defense, we play f3, takes, and queen takes f3 to attack the bishop, to attack the pawn, and to launch a lot of fun lines. This is the Von Popiel Gambit, and this was a bold claim I made at the start of this video, but don't take my word for it, take your word for it. That's right, welcome to the weekly Gambit Genius, where I feature your best games in my repertoires. So, you guys all know my repertoire, or you might not. Here it is. You can go to my link tree. All of these gambits that I've provided full repertoires on completely how to play them, and that I've played lots of games on Twitch, etc., against titled players, against all levels. Here are all the gambits that you guys can submit your games for me to feature on my channel. This weekly Gambit Genius will be dedicated to, last in alphabetical order, the Von Popiel Gambit. Here's the form where you guys can submit and where you guys chat about them in the Discord. It is awesome, awesome stuff, breaking new ground in brand new, super cool stuff. Let's waste no more time getting into your best games. There were so many good submissions. I'm so excited to share them with you. Indeed, this was Simon's game against someone similarly rated. d4, d5, I'll just review, takes knight c3, knight f6, and I'll get to very shortly why we play f3. Actually, let's talk about it right now. We play, okay, I'm gonna get to everything. I sorted these games in a pretty logical order, and I also want to get to what I think Black's best response is in this line. So bishop to f5 to provide some extra defense against this pawn, but the reason why we play bishop to g5 and not just the standard Black Mardemer with f3 here, takes because we give them the option to bring their bishop out, and now we play, instead of just knight takes f3, we can play queen takes f3, which is a really, really nice move to attack here and attack here. And we're going to cover a lot of moves that Black has, because in your games, people play all different stuff. But in this first game, Black played bishop takes c2, very greedy, now up 2 pawns, not a good choice, and Simon correctly punishes this with the very patient, not yet queen takes b7, but first rook to c1. And the reason is because if we start with queen takes b7, actually first let me show what happened in the game. Rook to c1, attacking the bishop, bishop comes back all the way to g6, what else are you going to do? Now queen takes b7 to attack the rook. Right, there's no bishop to e4 in any case because of the knight here. Knight to d7, only chance to defend. And now knight to b5, and c7 is just overwhelmed. If we started with queen takes b7, shout out to Simon for doing the correct move order as specified in the original video. And now with rook to c1, Black here can try rook to b8 to chase our queen away from c7. And here Black should survive at least. So rook to c1 chasing them away, takes b7, knight to b5, and already Black can basically resign with overwhelming hits on c7. Rook to c8 is a try here, but after takes, we're up in exchange, and rook to c8 is coming. In the game here, Black tries bishop to e4. Not a great try because knight takes c7 is check, and the king has nowhere to go. Takes, queen takes c7. Our own queen gets out of the way of danger, and with a nice checkmate, just next move with queen to c8, and already the game is over because takes, rook takes c8. That wasn't played, but that would be a beautiful checkmate. So a nice, easy one to start us off. Shout out to Simon for that submission. Thank you very much. Let's check out some other options for Black. And this one's submitted by Nathan, who, as you can see, posted this game in the Discord in the share games. And what I really like about this is because this is all, like, a lot of my gambits are, like, really, like, brand new stuff. Like, there's no way your opponent knows them. There's probably very little chance that you knew about the Von Popiel Gambit or about maybe almost any of the ones there, which is why we really love to surprise them and take them totally out of theory and out of their comfort zone. So we're really all discovering new stuff together. And so that's what I love about the Share Games channel and the Opening Ideas channel and all this other stuff on the Discord. So thanks for Nathan for sharing it here, and thanks Blunder Villager for reminding him to share this in this Google form here that I posted here. So thanks, Nathan, for sharing that. d4, d5, e6. This one is actually not really a Von Popiel, but it's going to be very similar because takes, knight takes f3. We are going to get this position very often, and the question is, how do we attack from here? And that's a question Nathan answered very, very well in this game. Basically, with the Von Popiel, takes knight c3, knight f6, bishop to g5. Black has two options, right? Kind of to play bishop to f5 or not to play bishop to f5. Let's say they played something like knight to d7. defending the knight, defending the pawn, right? And so now with f3, there's no point in playing queen takes f3. There's nothing to attack. The bishop is back home on c8. However, with the bishop being back home on c8, this diagonal is free for the taking. Why is that important? Well, something like this is what is exactly what happened in this game, and it's an attacking pattern that we're going to see very, very often. So here, e6, bishop to e3. This is the Alapin Gambit, also on my channel. There's some other options black has, and that's more covered in Alapin Gambit stuff, but generally, you might get something very, very similar to this. And the point here is now we've taken this diagonal, right? So we played knight takes f3, right? Not queen takes f3 because the bishop was back here, but we played knight takes f3. We're very happy about the bishop being back here. We've taken this diagonal. What are we going to do about it? Our pawn is gone by playing f3, which not only opens the rook, but opens this diagonal. And that's exactly what Nathan took advantage of. Queen to e1, just b6. Black is just la-di-da-di-da. Let me develop this way. Bishop to d6, castles. But while black is la-di-da-di-da, here comes queen to h4, and all of a sudden, there's a lot of pressure right there. The knight is frozen, right, because that would be checkmate. And now, if you continue playing something like bishop to b7, what we're going to do is we're going to play bishop to g5. We're going to try and take that knight and take you right here. And now if you kind of try to reinforce all that, we can continue trying to like take and then take again, right? And so here g6 isn't even an option, right? Because the knight will just be lost in a position like this without the pawn support. So we're just going to overwhelm the knight and overwhelm the pawn here. So black, seeing that, is like, okay, let me play h6 to maybe free my knight. But not only do we control this diagonal, we control the dark square diagonal as well, and h6 is just asking for it. I'm sure you can guess the next move by Nathan. Bishop takes h6. Great resource here. Takes, queen takes h6, and the game here is just about over with checkmate coming and black's pieces not in position to help at all. If the knight could move for a second and black could maybe play f5, block this bishop, play queen to e7, queen to g7, that would be a great defensive resource. Unfortunately, that wasn't available. Unfortunately for them, that wasn't available, and so this is just lost. Rook to e8 was a good try to maybe try to play bishop to f8, bishop to g7. There won't be any time. Here's the next very important attacking move by Nathan, is this move knight to g5. Which sets up not only rook takes f6, but also the checkmate idea you're about to see. Good desperation try by black. Bishop takes h2. Never resign. You never know. Maybe king takes h2 will happen and you'll win the queen. But that did not happen here. King to h1, just sidestepping out of the way. Queen takes h2 is possible, but not even necessary with checkmate coming. Bishop to f4, which blocks the rook. I mean, the bishop's completely hanging, but it does underscore the checkmate idea, which Nathan demonstrated here, which is bishop to h7 check. If king to h8, there is knight takes f7 checkmate. And if takes, and there is checkmate right here. So after bishop to h7, the game was over. Really, really nice one there. And so you can get this out of the Von Popiel, and it's why the Von Popiel is better than its inferior twin brother, the Black Mardimer, in my opinion, right? Because if you just play f3 here, this is the Black Mardimer Gambit. This is a common one. Takes, knight takes f3, right? There's no queen takes f3 on the table at all. There's the bishop's back here. Now they can come bishop to f5. Now we play knight takes, and the bishop made it to f5, which is very good for black. Now we're kind of just down a pawn, in my opinion. E6, bishop e7, I mean, it's a little bit of compensation, but in general, black should be fine to castle because we're not going to be able to make those same threats. So this is why we play bishop to g5, and now we see what our opponent's going to do. Are they going to play something like e6, which also offers this pawn, right? Here, it offers that pin right there. But even though, we can here play f3 and launch this really nice attack, bishop to d3, queen to e1, queen to h4, right? So like here, bishop to d3, castles, knight to d7, queen to e1 here, queen to h4, right? Classic stuff. Knight to e5, we're going to pile up on this knight. We're going to see whether g6 or h6 is going to be played. We're going to have a lot of fun with this diagonal while this bishop is back home. So queen to e1, queen to h4, great resource in the Von Popiel Gambit, and great quick KO here demonstrated by Nathan, and we'll be getting to more of that soon. But black has some other maybe better responses that we also are going to get to here. So here's a game submitted by Ponzi, with a really, really nice queen sacrifice for checkmate that I just love that pattern. I just love this game. It was kind of Morphy-esque, and I couldn't not include it. So here comes e4, takes, knight c3, knight f6, bishop to g5, we attack. Here's bishop to f5. It is the engine's move, and is the most common move, bishop to f5. So this resource of playing queen takes f3 is an important one. Here, however, bishop takes c2 was not chosen, and instead the most common move, bishop to c8, was chosen. It's not a good move, because after castles, black has almost no development, and we're going to try to hammer this king in the center. So, black here, we're actually going to get to a few moves in this video. Knight to d7 was knight b to d7 was chosen in this game, and also the simple bishop to c4 and c6. In this position, white should have probably chosen this move d5, because you always want to make pawn trades near your opponent's king. because not only do you want to get rid of their defenders, you want to open up your rook, right? So for example here, like if just takes, there's a checkmate threat on f7, and the move e6 is not possible because your queen's hanging. So you have to play something really ugly like f6. Knight e5 here, we can take f7 and win the opposing queen, right? Thanks to opening our rook there by virtue of trading that pawn. Otherwise, any knight move, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble with the rook opening onto that queen. So d5 would have been a great choice. Knight to h3 was chosen instead. The thing is, white can't really go wrong, right? So he just plays bishop to c4, knight to h3, rook to e1 in 2 seconds. That's totally fine. That's totally fine, and then you can figure out what to do next in a position like that. Black's best bet here was knight to b6 before they had played e6. Now they actually have a chance to develop that bishop. So knight to b6 attacking here, and maybe with bishop g4 they can get a little bit of development here. But they just played e6, thinking they had d5 on lock. So c6 and e6 together can stop this d5 resource, which is our main resource and will be demonstrated in our games. But no matter, you can never go wrong here with white. Just bishop c4, knight to h3, rook to e1. White has a huge margin for error. Just simple development. Their king will always be fine. Worst comes to worst, you're down 1 pawn. Whereas for black, this is going to be very serious, and you'll see what I mean. So here's bishop to e7. It looks like they should be fine. Looks like they should be ready to castle, but good idea here by Ponzi to play bishop to d3. Now if they castle, oh, this is going to look familiar. We took that diagonal, and so here comes some maybe shrewd maneuvering. Queen to f4, and now let's say if something like this, we can bring our queen to h4 and put a lot of pressure right there. We're going to try to play takes and checkmate, right? And if you ignore it, right, same patterns right here. If you play h6, we're going to take here, right? And otherwise, we want to make you play g6 to encourage lots of weaknesses. We can stack on the f-file in that case to attack here and here. So bishop to d3 gets ready for short castles. Black is like, oh no, I can't castle short. Let me try and leave my king in the middle maybe a little bit. So h6 they can play now. There's no bishop takes h6 with the rook still there. We can just retreat bishop to d2. This was the game. b5. This is an interesting moment. Here comes b5. So black, this is a shrewd resource by black who came up with a number of good resources in this game. They're a 1900 player themselves. b5, they're trying to generate some stuff where our king is. And this is a good choice by Ponzi not to take this c6 pawn. Because if you take c6, now rook b8, take c6 is an okay move by the engine. But black's going to castle, and now black's going to play like b4, they're going to play rook b6, they're going to play bishop b7, they're going to play queen a5. They're going to actually get a lot of play near our king and attacking our queen. Just for the price of 1 pawn, not really worth it. Let's keep the initiative instead. Let's bring our piece that's out of the game into the game. Here comes knight to f4 with a very hidden threat. So here comes bishop to b7, but knight to f4, and maybe you guys want to pause the video and try to guess the next move. Okay, you want to leave your king in the center? We're going to punish you for that. Here comes knight takes e6, takes, and also using the further weakening of the light squares by this move h6. Nobody's controlling g6. That's a great spot for a check, king to f8, and rook takes e6. With this move, we've got 2 pawns for our knight, and we've gotten their king never to castle again. And rook to e1 is coming, and we're going to put a lot of pressure here. So for example, if black is just kind of doing nothing, actually, this was demonstrated very well in the game, so let me show that in a sec. Rook takes e6 was a good move. Even better than to have a rook there is, well, maybe a knight would be great, but it's kind of far, is to have a queen right there. Nobody can actually defend e6, and so this would have been a great resource and is almost impossible to stop that queen from suddenly just sneaking in for checkmate. In the game, though, rook takes e6, can't blame him for that. Just a really fun sacrifice, bishop to g6 check coming, but not as fun as the sacrifice that's going to end this game. Black here probably should have played king to g8 to step out of this pin. That way with rook to e1, they could have hung on like this a little bit. And with the knight now defending the e8 square, you can't blame them for trying to come up with their own ideas instead of just defending, though. Rook to b8, trying to defend this bishop to maybe play c5, attack this queen, cause a little bit of problems for white. Unfortunately for them, they're way too slow. Here comes rook to e1, attacking the bishop. If the bishop moves out of the way, here comes rook to e8 check, using the fact that we had this pin. The knight cannot defend on e8, and we will win that queen. So black did not have that option, so instead they played c5, attacking our queen. Step out of the way, queen to f2, maintain the pin, right? And so c takes d4. So black says, okay, my bishop's attacked. I'm going to attack your knight. However, we're happy to make that trade. Takes e7, takes c3. Let's include this check on f7, king to g8, and now bishop takes c3. And all of a sudden, this position sucks for black. Their rook is totally out of the game. They're playing, they're up a knight for a pawn, but they're really down a rook. Our pieces are just in great spots, and you can see that we want to play rook to e7 and take g7 to just win the game, and that seems almost undefendable. Knight to d5 is not on the table. That would control e7. That's the only thing, but that opened the bishop right there. So just a really bad situation for black, and they're kind of completely lost already. In the game, queen to b6, and here is the gorgeous finish. It wasn't even necessary, but I did say Morphy-esque, and here is Morphy-esque. Rook e7, allowing queen takes f2 to happen because of this nice flurry at the end of the game, just using all of our remaining pieces after sacrificing the other ones. Here we go. Takes g7, king f8, right? Shout out to this rook, by the way, for taking away that square. King to f8, check with the other rook. King to e8, takes, discovered, check, cut them off from running away. Come back this way, please. Bishop to b4 check, resigns. This was the only legal move. Great, great stuff by all the pieces, just controlling all the squares. Nice, cute little pattern there, and punishing our opponent for keeping their king in the center. You didn't want to castle short and endure this attack. That's fine. Stay in the center, and I will sacrifice on e6. So yes, d5 is a great resource to just punch through, use that rook ASAP, and punish the king for being in the center. If not, just develop your pieces, and you're still going to have lots of opportunities to come at their king. This is gambiting chess. This is aggressive chess. Shout out to Ponzi for a really nice game. Let's check out the next one. And I'm not going to forget this time to change the scene. I'm not going to forget to change the scene, as I forgot on my prior take. So here we go. Shout out to Michelle. And here's a nice resource that Black actually shows in this game. A different idea. After takes f3, queen takes f3, instead of bishop to c8, and instead of bishop takes e2, you might be wondering why not just this move e6. This makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Like, okay, maybe we can allow takes b7. We're just going to play knight to d7 to defend our rook. And we're going to play here and castle ASAP. And maybe we'll be okay. We have our bishop here that shields this diagonal, as we've talked about. However, really nice move, as covered in my original video, is bishop takes f6. In fact, I think this whole game was covered in my original video, which is just really, really awesome stuff to see, to get an all-prep victory. Most people here are playing the very natural queen takes f6. Why not? Here's why not. Queen takes b7, and nobody defends the rook. There's no knight d7. There's nothing to defend the rook, and here Black is literally just down a rook and just completely lost. So queen takes f6 as the most common move is a pretty funny one right there. You have to play pawn takes f6, which is going to compromise your king's safety in this direction. And after castles here, instead of the greedy queen takes b7, we are already preparing d5 to really smash that king right in the middle of the board. Black here plays c6, which is a very logical choice, stopping queen takes b7 and trying to stop d5, right? Wrong. Here we go. d5 anyway. Takes, knight takes d5. Now if you take here, this is not going to be a pleasant trade for you, because we take this bishop on f5 that the pawn was defending, and remember, we're only down one pawn for all this. That we're about to win back. We're playing bishop to b5, knight to f3, rook to e1, lots of fun stuff, and these rooks are just going to kill you right down Main Street. Not an option for Black. Black does choose the correct option here of just playing knight to c6 and actually correctly realizing that A, they desperately need development, and B, this knight has no killer discovery right now, right? Like anywhere the knight can move that's kind of forward to attack the queen can in turn take that knight. So we don't have anything yet. However, nice move again by Michelle 1e2. This move bishop to b5, and finally Black makes their first slip up of the game, and it goes from equals to immediately lost and a killer checkmate sequence upcoming. What Black should have done is this really difficult to find bishop to h6 check, king to b1, and then taking c2. This has never before been played in a game ever, but I should show it. It is the Stockfish recommendation to achieve equality. Your king is messed up, but at least maybe White's king is actually in a little bit of danger for the first time in any of these lines, right? So that was a good try for Black. Before losing that bishop, it is going to kind of kamikaze itself, take c2 to take d5 here, and so Black can at least kind of say, okay, both our kings are unsafe a little bit. So that was their best try. Alas, a6 was played, which is just begging White to do a really nice checkmate sequence. Take, take, and remember how I said this knight has no good discoveries? That's no longer true. You might realize what White can do here. It is knight takes f6 check, and after queen takes f6, I mean, okay, it's a blunder, but the other option was just to lose your queen. Queen takes f6, there is checkmate in 2, takes, king e7, and checkmate. Nice game by Michelle 182. A nice all-prep victory right there against a very strong player. His opponent was 2275 and found a lot of great moves. They made literally one mistake, and there was checkmate instead of some very awkward equality. So this just goes to show the power of the Von Popiel Gambit. This one's chess.com. Let's switch that scene back. Here we go. Another option for Black. Also by Michelle 182, shout out to him for some really nice games. Queen takes f3. Here's bishop to c8, castles, and this game is going to be all the most common moves for Black. every move to this point has been the most common moves, right? So bishop to c8, just running back home, dealing with f5 and dealing with b7. Black here plays e6, which is like, okay, can I run away with my king before you kill me this time, before I stay in the center for this, or for what, or knight takes e6 and this check, whatever else you might get. Maybe I can be safe in the corner if I get there quick. Alas, here comes d5, threatening d takes e6 and opening right here. Bishop to d6 is not really helpful either, with lots of pins pressuring right there. And also if you take this, knight takes d5, and oh my goodness, is this ever brutal, with lots of hits on this poor queen. Bishop e7, for example, knight takes f6, check, wins the queen next turn. So with d5 coming and the rook coming right down on the d file to attack this queen, e5 makes a lot of sense and is the most common move to deny that pawn trade, push past roll, right? However, here is the issue. We come here, check, bishop to d7, and d6. Great move right there. And all of a sudden with d6, we're opening this threat. In the game here was bishop takes d6. c6 is also possible to try and stop this, but black is still lost. We just retreat our bishop, and now they're in a situation where this pawn ran all the way to d6, stopped black from developing at all, and white's next move, even against h6, is just going to be queen g3, and take e5, and there's really no way to stop this e-file, right? Like here, takes, you're going to have to put your bishop on e7, and just lose the game that way. So, just brutal stuff here. d6, okay, wait, why can't we play bishop takes d6 and maybe castle? The issue is that after queen takes b7, we're attacking the rook. The knight has nowhere to go here. The knight has nowhere to go because we've included this bishop to b5 check. This bishop has moved 3 times just to end up on d7, right where it shouldn't be. It should be defending d7, but we play bishop to b5 check to drag it back. Now d6, now we're introducing this stronger than ever threat to take here. However, shouldn't black be okay? What if they play takes b5, knight takes and knight d7? To arrange this defense, okay, maybe you might take d6, but I'll finally castle and I won't get checkmated and I won't be down a rook, right? Wrong. Rook takes d6, 2 exclams. Also line featured in my original video. Shout out to Michelle for remembering all this. This is just such awesome stuff, and I'm so glad to see this on the board. Takes, knight takes, d6 check. Brutal situation for black. They were so close to finally escaping for the first time, but after king to f8, again, it looks like maybe they're okay. It looks like actually they're up in exchange here, and okay, I can give them a move, rook to b8, queen to b6, we'll be okay. But a beautiful move here, the very simple bishop takes f6, causing such havoc in the black position. It doesn't look like it should be so bad. I have 3 things that can recapture. But you take with the queen, you lose your rook and your other rook. If you take with the knight, you lose your king. That opened the 7th rank. And if you take with the pawn, queen to d5, beautiful move. The knight's no longer there to control that square. Threatening checkmate. You have but 1 move, and now again, you're going to lose so much material. So, in this situation, after she takes f6, black comes up with the best practical chance. They're a 2,000 rated player. They come up with the best practical chance here. Queen takes f6, and sacrificing both rooks. Because we actually have, if we had knight f3 here and just covering all this, black could resign. But they have this queen, and we have this king. Can they get us? Spoiler alert, no. Because if they had like one other piece left that could help, like the knight's way too far, if they had one other piece left that could help, then we might be in some trouble here. But just the queen alone is not going to be able to get us. For example, like check here, check. Like this pattern is a great one to know. Just putting your knight right there now can control lots of important squares that would otherwise check your queen. That would otherwise be options for the queen to keep checking the king. And so here, white is just completely winning. Even if they take this rook here, we're also just up too much material to have any issues. So in the game here was check, which is a nice little try. If we play king b1, that's checkmate, so don't do that. He did not. King to d1, got another exclam for that. Check, and now black is going to be out of checks here. If queen to e3, nice pattern to know to cover some important squares. Otherwise, now it takes d6, and nicely played by Michelle 182 here, really, to just get their king all the way back home. Well, at least to like a, it was funny, they castled long, but then brought their king all the way there for a short castle, and now here even just knight d4 to get the shenanigans off the board, because now it takes, and now a really nice way to just trade queens, and now you're just up material, and without queens, black can't do anything to you. This forced the queens off the board, and now just up a lot of material and winning the game. So a really, really nice wire-to-wire victory by Michelle 182, and again, great prep there. Great prep, great stuff. Okay. Yes, so this covered if e6 in this position, we're going to hit him with d5, and now they need to play e5 or else the d-file is too strong. We play check and d6, and now we keep trying to take b7, and now a beautiful move, rook takes d6, which pairs nicely with bishop takes f6. Good effort by the opponent there, but again, perhaps just too good. Okay, and one more game here. that's going to demonstrate, and I'm going to get to this at the end of the video, what I recommend for black to do, and this is going to be the start of that, actually, because bishop to f5 is the most common move and the top engine move to reinforce e4, and knight d7 is a very interesting move because it supports f6, which supports e4, so black is still up the pawn without giving us queen takes f3 and attacking f5, attacking b7. So what do we do about that? Here's what we do, also covered in the original video and in all my other games. We play here g4 to attack the bishop, it retreats one, and now we play queen d2. So now we're again threatening to take on e4, and so this kind of happened in the game here. They played h6, we made this trade, castles, takes f3, knight takes f3. So they took f3, we played queen to e2 to prepare castles, and we're still playing knight takes f3. We're okay with that. This is a little bit different because we're going to be trying now to play h4, g5, and push over there. We're going to put our bishop on h3 so our queen's not in the way, and we're still going to use these d and e files, and d5 is still a very important resource. And again, this stuff is all covered on my channel. So this happened in the game, and knight takes g4. Black got very greedy, going for 2 extra pawns, and they're punished very quickly. Here comes bishop to h3. Great developing resource for this bishop. Knight comes back home, and after knight to e5 here, this is pretty much already lost for black. Don't tell me. Yes. Okay, wait. We're on the right. We're on the right one. Okay, knight to e5. So we're attacking the bishop here. If e6, we can just play knight takes g6, takes, and e6 is lost here. We can just take that a number of ways. Rook to e1 is coming. That's not an option for them. They needed to play bishop to h7 here, but already they're losing here. For example, queen to b5 check. It was not played in the game, but the bishop sniping on this diagonal, which not only cuts castling, but here, as demonstrated, does a couple other things. Queen takes b7 wins in this position. Knight takes e6 is a cuter win. Takes, knight d7, and takes d7 here like this to distract the queen from defending the rook this way. Lots of cool stuff that can really kill them when your pieces are just that good. And speaking of, why not get their last piece into the game? Rook to f1. Like I said, there's lots of moves that might win, but you'll never go wrong. Just keep continuing to improve your position until they lose, right? So e6 is again off the table for black. Knight takes f7, and queen takes e6 check is just going to kind of checkmate them rather imminently, I assume. All right, so like rook g1 check here, for example, and g4 probably. So not an option for black. Black tries queen d6 to maybe play e6 so that they can maybe defend the e6 pawn against knight takes f7. And if they can do that, then they can maybe castle without the bishop controlling the c8 square. Alas, queen to b5 check wins, and so does that square for the knight. Knight to b5 hitting the queen. Queen to b6 to try and keep the defense here, maybe keep the defense here. They're running out of resources, though, after queen to c4, threatening c7 and threatening f7. Probably black didn't even see the threat on f7, but it didn't really matter. There was nothing they could do in this position with all of white's pieces just doing so good and their pieces doing nothing, and them being so far from castling. Here c6, and queen takes f7. And what I really liked about this is the ending of this game with the move d5 by Michelle. Just really using the last piece. I guess the rook had been a little bit forgotten here, and in this position, I mean, there were just so many different checkmating options that white had, including just here. But there's just, I mean, this just demonstrates just how just unbelievably dominant this position is with all these squares controlled by the white pieces. So a great game right there that demonstrates. So black starts off with the engine line of knight to d7, but they get greedy taking g4, and this is just time they don't have. They need to get their king out of the center way faster than this, and they weren't even close to surviving that one. Shout out to Michelle for those great games. Now, let's talk about maybe black playing a little bit better, and I really liked this game. Switch that scene. I really liked this game because this was, hey, Mr. Gambit Man, I play in Germany, Bavaria for TSV, blah, blah, blah. A former school friend and current chess club mate recommended your channel to me after he was in America. Best regards from Christoph. We celebrate your style of play, which is why I unpacked the Von Popiel Gambit, which is why I learned from you in my local chess league against a stronger opponent. I hope this message reaches you. Keep up the good work. This game is from 1900 and 2000 FIDE rated players over the board. So this is very legitimate stuff. The Von Popiel Gambit at high levels of classical chess. This is really exciting, and I'm so glad that you guys enjoy my channel. I'm so glad to see it there. Let's check out this game, which was a really nice game, and I really like this. I absolutely have to show it in this video. So here it comes: bishop to g5, bishop to f5, f3, knight to d7. Right? So if you're asking, are these gambits legitimate? Are these gambits playable? Here it is. Here it is played in classical at high levels. Knight to d7, again, the 2000 FIDE rated player in Germany defends everything properly. g4, bishop to g6, and queen to e2. Nicely done. And here we're now threatening to play pawn takes e4, and we're going to get back to this position to talk about the top engine recommendation here. But in the game was pawn takes f3, which you absolutely cannot fault black for, and knight takes f3, and now we officially have our gambit. So great stuff, great style of play here. Knight takes f3, and here's c6 to maybe stop d5. And also what black was trying to do is maybe play this move queen to a5. So they're going to look towards castling long, and they're going to look towards, you know, putting some pressure on our side of the board. Good move here by white is this move h4, trying to play h5, and also discussed in my video to go after this bishop. h6 and takes f6, pawn takes f6, right? So black is none too worried about losing safety on the king side because they are correctly realizing that they should castle queenside. Bishop to h3 was played here. Better option was, well, it says h5 here, but you can include this if you want. Better option is to play d5. Better option is to play d5 because what you can do here is if you make this pawn trade, then black's king is in some serious danger, and like moves like queen b5 can be coming and attacking this knight on d7 and such. But no fault there. Bishop to h3 is a very, very logical move to, again, just finish your development. You're never going to like lose the game or do anything so wrong by just playing logical moves. But d5 was an opportunity to really punish black for being a little slow in getting their king out of the middle of the board. Knight to b6 played here. g5. So g5, nice idea and very logical with bishop to h3 to open this diagonal and cut black from castling and keep that king in the middle of the board. Takes f5. Black is doing their best to stop the bishop from controlling c8. But here comes knight to e5, putting a lot of pressure that way. So with knight to e5, this is a difficult situation for black. Black probably should have played this move bishop to h5 because it looks like here they can kind of win an exchange. But there might be some interesting lines here after, say, something like queen to f2 takes, queen takes f5, and, you know, like lots of hits all around their king in a situation like this. So I can understand why maybe black didn't want to do something like that, but bishop to h5 was a good resource there because it's something that could win the rook, and I think at minimum maybe you can just play something like e6 and try to consolidate your position a little bit. It looks like you should be able to castle, and in general are holding white off probably in a situation like this, and maybe can take on d1. Or maybe you're threatening to take on d1 next turn. In the game here, we had rook to g8 to get off of lots of tricks in this direction. Rook to g8 and rook to f1. So again, we see this theme of just completing our development and threatening this f5 pawn. Rook to g7 played here to try and fortify f7. Engine wants knight to d5, so a counter attack here, trying to trade off for this knight and put some pressure on a2. In the game here, rook to g7, takes. Yeah, rook to g7, not the best choice, because now you allowed the capture on f5 to happen, and you're in a situation where if you castle, you're going to lose yet another pawn, and because there's also some danger you need to worry about coming this way. Castles happen in the game, and now this is already a very, very good situation for white. Queen to g4, great move. Now you're defending the rook, also making discovered threats against the king, and also making discovered threats against the queen. Now the knight is free because the rook is defended. The rook is defended so that those threats against the queen would be pretty serious. So e6, try and chase the rook away, but now after take, white is now actually up a pawn. They've collected a couple things just for black to get to safety. They're attacking another, and they've got a very, very powerful passed g-pawn. So here black did their best in terms of creating counter chances instead of just allowing white to just push their g-pawn and win the game. They played here bishop to a3, which is a blunder, potentially. Well, it recommends knight c4, which is kind of in the similar vein. But bishop to a3, knight to c4, they can put a lot of pressure here and here against the white king. We hadn't really talked about white's king having issues, but sometimes that's how you got to play. I mean, it's very, very difficult to play without any counter chances and with your opponent's king completely insulated. So this is a good practical chance, I think, by black to at least look for ideas like this. Yeah, probably better to lead with knight c4 rather than to put your bishop en prise immediately. Rook to d3, great resource. Defending the knight here, so now you're threatening to take the bishop and potentially just run away with your king, right? Black doesn't have too many pieces left. The king is less safe here with all these pieces than it is maybe just like all the way over here, right? Where maybe no one can touch you and you can just focus on queening your pawn. So rook to d3, nice move. Knight to c4, and yeah, just take a3 with that nice support. So takes and just run away. Just run away, and we're able to do this king walk because nobody can touch you. Nobody can touch you here. You've got two knights now for the rook, and as long as you're safe for a couple more moves, you can just focus on this g-pawn finally. So queen to e7 to try, I mean, they had maybe one more check with queen a6, but it didn't really do much. Queen to e7 stops g7 for one move. No matter, we can play knight to e4. Really good move here, trying to bring a knight to d6. King to c7, and now check g3, and this is now very, very fun stuff with the checkmate pattern coming. And what I love most about this checkmate pattern is it uses the knights, the king, the pawns, and not really the queen. So this is fun stuff. I mean, you could have won this game by focusing with the g-pawn, but this is just an even cuter way to do it. Here comes knight fd6 to attack the rook. Rook slides out of the way. Rook g8. You get 2 question marks, but a very logical move, right? Rook g8. And now already the engine is saying mate in 14, and that is demonstrated nicely here. Knight to c4 check. This is the one thing the queen does this whole checkmating pattern, is just control c7, right? Okay, other than that, we don't even need the queen. King a6, check. Here comes the other knight. King to b5, that's the only other square. a4, king to b4, only other square. c3, defended by the king. Knights control everything. This is checkmate. This is checkmate with the pawn defending, pawn defending, pawn defending, king defending, knight defending, knight defending, knight defending. That's all the squares right there. Really, really cute checkmate with the queens on the board, right in the middle of the board there. But a really, really nice Von Popiel Gambit at high levels of classical chess, and it just really warms my heart to see that the type of chess that is being inspired here. Great stuff. Keep up the good work. I love to see it, and I love to see this shared in the Discord. Thanks so much. Greetings from Germany. Greetings from New York. Let's talk now about some other over-the-board games, and this will be the last one before I talk about more broadly my recommendation for black. So this was a really, really nice over-the-board game here, shared by Mr. James Hall. d4, d5, e4, takes knight c3, knight to f6, bishop to g5, and knight b to d7. So already we can see the knight is coming to d7 without bishop to f5. Here comes f3, takes knight takes. This game also had a really, really nice story behind it. I actually don't have the text in front of me at the moment, but I really, really like this one. c6, bishop to d3. So already we can see that if black is castling short, we're going to get them with our favorite queen to e1, queen to h4, maneuver e6. This is another option, though, that was chosen in the game by white. This is actually the engine recommendation, is to play queen to e2 and long castles, because now if black is choosing to castle short here, what we can do, and especially that they played h6, what we can do is just go after them with g4. So here with g4, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a pawn trade. Right? We already have kind of one open file, but it's kind of okay. What we want to do is create another pawn trade. And by creating pawn trades, we not only get rid of pawns around the enemy king, but we also get rid of our own pawns, which is going to open up our rooks. And with our rooks open, that's how we get them. That is how we get them. So, especially with this move h6, with opposite side castling, right? If we're same side castling, we're not just going to be sending these pawns with our king right there. But with opposite side castling, we want to be pushing these pawns to create pawn trades. And with this move h6, it prevents a hook to trade it off. And already this is very dangerous for black because there is now 2 open files and 2 rooks. Look how nicely that worked out. A diagonal we have controlled. They're up a pawn, but they're not really well using lots of their pieces here. g4 was a nice move, not even playing rook to g1, just offering this, right? You want to play knight takes g4, you can, but rook to g1 here, this is going to be a tough situation because if you move this, then there's bishop takes h6. So you really don't want to open up even more than you have to if you're black. But here was rook e8, g5, takes, knight to f8, queen to f2. Nice stuff here. Here comes queen to f2 and queen to h4. And the rooks are going to come to f1 and there's just in g1 and there's just going to be kind of just knockouts all over the board in a situation like that. For example, you can imagine something like this, b5, queen to h4, bishop to b7, and something like this with, I don't know, like rook takes f6, and check, something like this, and that could end the game pretty quickly, or just pressure on g7. In the game, queen to c7 was played, rook to g1, getting our rooks into the game, and knight to g6, which is already a mistake and already invites for a really nice sacrifice here, was knight takes f7, king takes and bishop takes g6. I love featuring over the board games on my channel. I just love when this stuff happens in real life, so to speak. So bishop takes g6 check, and already we're no longer down a pawn because that knight was put itself on pre. It allowed for the knight takes f7 sacrifice, and we're able to capture the rook here and continue putting even more pressure. Now threatening queen to f7 check. Here's bishop to f6. We're going to use all our pieces here. Knight e4. We're going to try and take that. This pawn is pinned, so it is not defending the bishop. King to f7 to get out of that pin, but it's just getting into a new open file. This is what's great about having all these files open. And now we're going to use our last piece, this bishop. Bishop to f4, queen to a5, not even worrying about a2. I mean, nothing would have been wrong with king b1 at all, but this nice move, queen to h4, which sets up a checkmate threat here, and queen to h7 check, and rook to g8 to follow. So in the game, king to e7 to try and keep running away, bishop to e5, continuing to use the pins, continuing to use these rooks. And I really liked this last couple of moves of the game here by Mr. Mora Horror, is this nice move, rook to g7 check. Because after takes, queen takes f6, and there is checkmate next couple turns with king to d7 check, or king to e8, and king to d8, and bishop to c7 checkmate is among a number of checkmates in this position. Really cool stuff. You can also long castle, as you often do in the Von Popiel Gambit, of course, but long castle and launch these pawns here for some nice attacks. There's so many ideas, and shout out to Mr. Gambetter More Horror for sharing that here. There's so many great ideas against all sorts of responses. I couldn't possibly share every single game, but I've shared so much stuff on my channel if you guys like this. The other great thing about the Von Popiel Gambit, okay, so let's talk more broadly about it, is that you can play it literally every time, right? You don't even need to know another opening for white. It's kind of the point. Because, okay, even if your opponent plays knight f6 on this move, you can play your knight c3, like a Jobava London. Okay, they got to play d5 probably to stop e4, but now after e4, pawn takes e4, bishop to g5, you've got the same thing. And knight takes e4 I also cover in the original video here, but you can just play bishop to e3 and f3 and kind of play it pretty much the same way with our favorite attack incoming. So you can get this pretty much every time, and you're going to know it way better than your opponent, which is probably 0. And in this line, it's just such fun stuff, whether you're playing queen takes f3 to attack the bishop and the pawn, or whether you're getting just knight takes f3 and nice attack with this bishop being shut in. You're going to get something really cool here. Okay, I promised to give my recommendation for black, and I think I also touched on this in the original video, but with bishop to f5 here to defend, and knight d7, I touched on this, g4, bishop to g6, queen to e2. It's funny, I actually forgot this when one of my viewers played this against me. The best move here is so rare, accounts for 9% of games in this position, which is already unlikely to get. Best move here is c6. It's to allow f takes e4, just really never to take f3. No matter how much pressure is on e4, never give them this great development and great files. Just never do it. You play c6, which is a useful move, right? Controlling d5, maybe getting your queen out for castles, because you want them to play f takes e4, and then you can play e5 to really kind of challenge the center in a better way. And this is very unlike any Von Popiel we've seen. We don't typically have a pawn on e4 that kind of blocks us from, doing our thing. Better to play castles and give them another chance to play knight takes. And at this point, I mean, I'm kind of convinced anyone playing h5 here is probably a cheater. I mean, 11 games, 11 wins for black in this position. It's kind of an unreal move, but it is the top engine move. Again, now it makes f takes e4 a little more difficult because of pressure here. I can't imagine anyone playing h5, but it now creates this weird pin. So it really kind of takes us away from our favorite kind of Von Popiel stuff, where we're able to play knight takes f3, we're able to play knight e5 or d5 or h4, h5, bishop to h3, just all this super fun stuff in the Von Popiel Gambit. I really liked the submissions. I have so much more to go through. This one was just Von Popiel themed, of course. The next one will be probably have a different theme, but I really love it, and I really love the Discord and just the community around. Like I showed here, there's so many gambits. A lot of them I had to name because they're brand new. And we love taking our opponents out of theory and just doing the most difficult thing possible for them. Like I showed you guys that engine line, I think it's just so unlikely your opponent does it. And so that's what I try to come up with, is to try and induce the most amount of mistakes possible to give you the most fun chess and the most high win rate that you can. So whatever gambits you like, whatever ones you want to add to your repertoire, I mean, you can make a whole repertoire out of these, right? I actually, speaking of which, I play e4, right? I play e4 because I've gambits against everything else as well. If d5, though, against the Scandi, I play the Von Popiel Gambit. So if you're an e4 player and you don't like facing the Scandi for whatever reason, which is totally valid, play d4, play the Von Popiel Gambit here. And if they give you a Caro or a French, then you can play the Von Hennig or the Alapin Gambits or any of the other ones on my channel. But join the Discord. Keep sending in those submissions. Keep sharing your games. It's just such great stuff. I'm really excited to keep seeing your games and keep exploring all these openings together, and keep making new ones and crush everyone on the internet with the Gambit Chad repertoire, titled players or what have you. So we'll continue doing that, and I'm just really excited. I just love this community so much, and I hope you guys want to be a part of it. So if you enjoyed what you saw here, please subscribe. Feel free to join the Discord, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much, and peace out, Gambit Chads. Gambit glasses on, baby.
William Grave, the Gambit man, takes his seat at the board. E4, E5, Knight F3, Bishop C5. The Bushcast Gambit on the board. On with the Gambit glasses. Hero pod unlocked.